everyone, this is another video about building this some kind of a retro station, the same thing at the bar top, but without the control, just USB on the front. This one is reusing an iPad 1 generation 1 screen. Inside it's a Raspberry Pi, some speakers here from Adafruit with the amplifier. There's an HDMI splitter on the inside, so I can output on the screen if I want, and also a driver for using in HDMI the iPad. I have the volume control here. 2 USB here, 2 USB on the back, network on the back. There's a place to a compartment for the external power supply, and we'll see how it's built. Okay, first, so what I've done is print all the part with all the dimension, the drilling hole, the size, the center, to see where I'm going to work. Then I'm going to stick with some glue the paper on the wood, but first I need to cut this part. I'm going to start with the thin wood. So I've nearly finished to cut all the part. So just to show you what this is going to look like. So I got the back part with the USB, LAN, HDMI, etc. The front USB, this is going to be there, cut with a square, and here I'm going to make a bigger hole to put the wall plug, which looks like that. So here this is going to be exactly, so here I need to make a hole big enough, so a big hole here. I'm going to do that on the front, I'm going to do that on the back, something like that. Same thing with the speaker. This is going to be somewhere like that on the top, with bigger hole here fixing the speaker there, and here I will eventually make a grid by drilling some hole. And the top I've cut on 45 degrees to have something like that, and the top is going to be there. Then you're going to have the door here to have access of the inside of the cabinet. And everything is going to be held by some stud here, for example. And I already cut for here for the 45 degrees. So I still have the side to cut, which I'm going to keep for the very end to be sure everything ending flush, and I still have the screen part to cut, and I already print from the original schematic the exact size with the emplacement for the hole. So yeah, I'm going to start to at least build what I could here, making the hole for all the USB speaker, everything, and trying to start to get everything together, at least to see if the screen part is going to be on the right position. So after cutting some stud, this is supposed to look something like that for the main frame. Then the top is going to be there. So I've nearly finished all the part. I still have some hole here to finish, maybe polish a bit all that stuff, some files here, well, everything, but you got the idea. It's like there, so I can put the USB there. So I will finish that, and at the same time I'm going to start to assembling things.
Okay, so I nearly finished to cut all the part and start to see if they are fitting. This one is not fitting. It's a few millimeter off. I'm trying to show you. Not sure this is going to be on the camera, but yeah, I think I forgot to take in consideration the thickness of the blade. So I have a new stud to buy. For the other part, I've still the screen to cut. I have finished the front with the USB with the right size, and still have the back to do. Here, I'm not sure you're going to see that, but I finished the hole on the left speaker. Here, I still have the right to do. Okay, so I nearly finished to glue and screw all the part. I still have the side to finish. Originally I was supposed to use something thicker like this one, but I found out that it was a bit too bulky, so I changed my mind for something thinner. I didn't glue the side, I just used a clamp for the video. I've sand and remove all the paper part on the front. I still have the bezel for the screen to finish. I've already marked where the support for the screen are going to be. As you already see, I've printed in a 1:1 scale the screen of the iPad, and it's not only for the dimension but also for the emplacement of the support for the screws. What I'm going to do is first I've already marked where all they are going to be with a small drill. So now I have exactly understood where they are going to be and when I'm going to drill to make a path and allow the support to slide to the bezel. So if we are looking to the back, wait, okay, so I've finished to polish hole and stuff. I haven't sanded the paper yet. As you can see, I have some gap here and here. I'm going to use wood filler, and also here is the maintenance door. I'm going to add some mechanical part here to lock and make it slide nicely. So I have nearly finished all the woodwork. I still have some maybe some hole to do that, to have some natural airflow inside. Now I'm going to start to see how I'm going to organize the electronic inside, how I'm going to place everything. So here our bezel. I've added some stands for the buttons and the infrared. I've also added some support for the screws. Also, this is what it looks like. So it's fitting nicely. Here you can see I've already put the studs for the Raspberry Pi. Here is the size cut at the right dimension. Yep, sorry for the nauseous camera. Okay, so this is supposed to look like something like that. And I've already pre-drilled the hole and sand correctly the maintenance door. Yep. So yeah, maybe, come on, maybe a bit more sanding, but yeah, this is going well. Still have to sand a bit, So now I need to put the wood filler, fill all the gap, and then sand it. The sander is already set and ready to go. Okay, so all the parts are being glued and screwed all together. I still have a bit of sanding to do on the front bezel. I was talking earlier about the stands for the solder board. What I was talking about is this board with the buttons for the OSD and controlling the screen. I've changed the button to have something a bit longer, hopefully with the thickness of the plexiglass. I should still be able to click on the button. I've finished also all the inside. All the support are done, so now I'm going to put the wood filler. So this is what it looks like after sanding everything. Pretty happy about the result. You can see it's pretty clean. I still have some gap here. Maybe I'm going to make another pass, I don't know, but yeah, pretty cool. The wiring is not complex. First, you need the driver board for the iPad screen. There's a lot of similar boards, so be sure of the reference of your screen before ordering one. It comes with the Dodo board for the OSD and infrared receiver. I'm going to remove the bicolor LED and link it to the classier one next to the power switch. This board needs 12 volts to power on and has an HDMI input as long as VGA and composite. For the sound, we're going to use a Class D amplifier from Edefruit with a max 983606 with a pair of 3 watts 4-ohm rectangular speakers. To control the sound, we're going to use a dual 10 key ohms linear potentiometer with a switch. This will also power on the unit. Of course, we need a Raspberry Pi 3 and some panel mount ports for the USB network and HDMI. Speaking of the HDMI, I'm going to add a chip splitter between the Raspberry and the screen driver. The front panel will be plugged in on it. Don't forget the DC plug panel mount. I'm going to use a classic 5.5 2.1mm jack. If you're familiar with the Raspberry Pi, you know it needs a 5V to run, but our screen driver needs also a 12V. I'm going to use a DC to DC converter, taking 12 24V in input and output 5V at 10 amps. That should be more than enough to power the Raspberry Pi, the amplifier and the splitter. Now let's see for the connection. USB and network go from the Raspberry Pi to the panel mount. The HDMI output from the Raspberry Pi goes to the splitter, output 1 from the splitter goes to the screen drivers, and output 2 goes to the panel mount. For cable arrangement, you're going to need a really short HDMI cable. I'm going to make my own. For the audio, we need to control the volume before it goes to the amplifier. Both right and left from the Raspberry Pi go to the potentiometer to the side pins. If you're looking to the pins with the shaft pointing up, we will use the right pins as input. The center pins will be the outputs and the left pin will be the grounded. Connect the two outputs to the L plus and R plus of the amplifier. L minus and R minus are grounded. Now, the audio is done, we need the power. Connect the jack panel mount to the switch of the potentiometer, and the other side of the switch to the DC-DC converter. Like that, the switch will let the power going to the DC-DC converter. Since the converter has terminals, it's easier to link from there to the screen driver. Now our converter has power, we can link the plus 5V to the Raspberry Pi, the splitter and the amplifier. Note that the amplifier can also be powered through the GPIOs of the Raspberry Pi. So I've quickly plugged everything to see if it's working. As you can see here, we've got the external power supply, which is 12 volt, 4 or 6 amps, something like that, more than we need. I've plugged all the extension cable, the LAN cable, the HDMI cable, to see if it's working with the extension. This is a whole mess, but yeah, this is just a quick test. Here we've got our DC-DC converter. As I said, it's a 5 volt, 10 amps, which is more than enough for the Raspberry Pi, the splitter, and the sound. So here I haven't plugged the sound yet, only the DC plug and the on-off switch of the potentiometer. This is just to see if it's getting the power correctly. Yeah, it's working. So yeah, I still have to find a place to put the audio part, and oh, I got an update, so the network is working. So yeah, I still have the audio to put, testing with the HDMI splitter and everything, how to fit everything in the unit. Here's some pics of the first pass of the primer. I was really scared because it was really ugly and I was not sure the second pass going to cover everything. And here is the second pass. Okay, second pass of the primer. Much better. I was really scared of the first pass, but the second pass is really clean. Well, as clean as a primer could be.
Finally, the paint is done. It was a freaking nightmare. I have to sand and repaint multiple times, and I'm not even happy about the result. There's a lot of issue, but I talked with my friend and he said it was okay if it's not perfect. And yeah, it was really difficult. So also here's the door for anyway, let's assemble everything, and before that I need to cut the plexiglass for the screen.
As long as the button is also cracked on one corner, so yeah, this is really difficult to work. It's cracked for anything, especially when I'm going on the end of drilling. So I need to order a new plexiglass. For now I'm going to finish all the mechanical part, putting the door, putting the handle, putting the USB, everything I could to advance because I'm already late on this project. I've already ordered a replacement for the plexiglass, but yeah, I need to find a way to cut it properly because this is going to be really difficult to do if it's keep cracking.
So I put the handle.
So after a bit of cable arrangement, this is going pretty well. I finished to install the potentiometer with the on-off switch, the USB, the LED. Here I've got the HDMI connector, the ribbon cable for the front panel buttons, and the power supply, which are going to be on the driver here for the OSD screen, and the HDMI on the HDMI splitter. On the back, you can see okay, the door is finished, and we're going to see how it is inside. This is what it looks like inside. This is really cramped even with some cable arrangement. Inside here we got our DC-DC converter. It's screwed down on the bottom and won't move. It power on our Raspberry Pi, and it will power on our splitter with the cable. Come on, this cable. Yeah, so it's a classic DC plug. At the end I choose to power the amplifier here with the GPIOs of the Raspberry Pi. Here we got the USB and the network. Everything has been already in test. It's worked really great. So yeah, for this part this is finished, but there's one problem. The problem is for the power supply. I was supposed to put somewhere here an placement for store Raspberry Pi, the power supply, sorry, when you transport the retro station, but as you can see I don't have the place at all, so I have to find a way, because my friend will want something to be easily transportable. So maybe I will create a new place to sort the power supply. I was thinking like eventually I still have some space on the door, so first I wanted to use some Velcro to hold it here, but eventually I'm going to make something, a box or anything to hold it. So yeah, I've nearly finished everything. The last part will be the screen to put inside. So I'm going to show you, because yeah, so come on, this is not easy to bend everything. Okay, so as you can see, everything is ready to get the screen. All the stands are ready and at the right size. I will eventually use some double tape, 3M double tape, to hold the screen, and then I'm going to fix something for holding the power supply, and hopefully this is going to be the end of it.
So in order to hold the power supply, I print those two parts with a screw hole, and I'm going to put that on the door with a piece of plexiglass and another one like that at the right dimension. And eventually, let's say this is the door, so I'm fixing this inside on the door, and then it will be hold this stuff. So yeah, it will be smaller, of course, like right of the size of the power supply, and it will be enough space for the cable and for the power cable. Alright, here are the result of our boxes. This is just an approximation. The hole are not really well lined. I don't know where I messed up, but anyway, this is just for holding purpose, and not sure it's important. This is all well visually, and also I'm going to use some Velcro stickers and put on the small remote like there, so at least I have a place to well, put that.
Here are the new plexiglass, freshly arrived today. I've already a big one, so if I'm making a mistake or if it cracks when I drill it, I will have plenty of tries. I've already started to cut one part, so let's finish that.
Finally, the third version didn't crack, it fits. So now I have to clean everything because I have a lot of dust everywhere. Clean everything, put some double tape on the back to prepare the screen, put the screen, avoid any dust, and maybe I will seal with double tape here too, and everything will be okay. Well, the last part will be to put that behind the screen and fix it with 2 screws, but yeah, it will be the really final part. But when the screen will be put and everything will be screwed, the most difficult part will be over. So here's the screen. I remove it from the touchpad, and yeah, not so bad. If you check inside, right now it's only with the double tape, and now I need to screw to be sure it won't move at all. And yeah, we're getting close.
Alright, so the plexiglass is in place. I still can't push the button, they are very flush. I don't have much dust or speck inside, so eventually I'm not going to put the double tape as intentionally wanted to. I still have the driver and HDMI to put inside behind the screen and plug everything. I still have after that some cable arrangement to do and assemble and put the storage on the door for the power supply.
Well, great. So let's put the small box for the power outlets, and that will be finished. Alright, so here our small box. I can put the cable should be correct. There you go. So now I can put Thanks for watching.